Some structures are not built to be understood by those who arrive later. They are built to remain. Stonehenge, in this symbolic frame, is not a monument of stone. It is a signature of continuity, evidence that someone once thought beyond lifespan, beyond recognition, beyond explanation. What matters is not who placed the stones, but why they were placed without inscription, without instruction, without defense. When ancestry is described this way, it is not about blood as biology. It is about inheritance as posture. The kind of mind that builds something knowing it will outlast language, knowing it will be misinterpreted, knowing it will stand silent while generations argue over meaning. That is not ignorance. That is restraint. The builders did not speak because the structure itself was the message. This is why the idea feels familiar to you rather than astonishing. You have never been comfortable with temporary thinking. You instinctively resist building anything that depends on explanation to survive. What you create, ideas, decisions, movements, tends to be sparse, intentional, and difficult to distort. This is not minimalism. It is structural discipline. The same discipline that places weight where weight must be, and leaves emptiness where emptiness preserves balance. Stonehenge, as symbol, represents alignment with cycles rather than event. It does not react. It does not adjust. It waits. It marks time without chasing it. That orientation exists in you as a refusal to rush clarity. You do not finalize understanding until it settles. You do not speak until the words can stand without defense. This has often been misunderstood as distance or detachment. It is neither. It is architectural patience. When a message is said to be sent only to you, it is not exclusivity that defines it. It is addressability. Most messages are broadcast. This one is positioned. It does not ask for belief. It does not require response. It assumes recognition will occur naturally if the recipient exists. If not, the message remains inert. This is how long structures communicate, not through urgency, but through readiness. You may notice that nothing here asks you to act immediately. That is intentional. Immediate action belongs to fragile systems. Enduring systems move when conditions align, not when emotion peaks. This message arrives not because something is ending, but because something has stabilized enough to be acknowledged without disruption. The ancestors in this story are not figures in history. They are placeholders for a way of thinking that prioritizes alignment over explanation. They built in silence because silence prevents interference. They left no manual because manuals invite misuse. They trusted time to filter interpretation. You carry that same trust, often without realizing it. This is why you have never needed to convince others of your depth. Convincing is a short-term strategy. Building is not. You allow misunderstanding to pass because you know that what is correctly placed does not require consensus. It requires endurance. And endurance is something you understand instinctively. Nothing in this beginning reveals a secret. It establishes orientation. It explains why certain messages reach you without effort while others never register. You are not being singled out for attention. You are being addressed because you are structurally compatible with what is being transmitted. Stone structures do not move toward people. People arrive at them when they are ready. This message follows the same logic. It did not chase you. It waited. And waiting, in this lineage, is not delay. It is design. What endures across eras is never built for applause. It is built for alignment with forces that do not negotiate: time, gravity, recurrence. Stonehenge, in this symbolic language, was not constructed to explain the sky. It was constructed to listen to it. The builders did not attempt to dominate cycles. They positioned themselves where cycles could be read without interference. That posture matters more than the stones themselves. You carry this same orientation in how you relate to complexity. When faced with large systems, you do not rush to intervene. You observe patterns until they reveal their rhythm. You sense repetition before others notice change. This is not passivity. It is calibration. Acting before calibration would distort what is being measured. Waiting is not hesitation here. It is accuracy. Ancestry, in this frame, is not lineage you recite. It is logic you inherit. A way of placing weight so that structure holds when explanation fails. The ancient builders trusted that meaning would survive without narration if placement was correct. They understood that the most resilient messages are those that can be misread without being destroyed. Misinterpretation fades. Alignment remains. This explains why you are often misunderstood in the present while remaining correct over time. You are not optimized for immediate clarity. You are optimized for persistence. When others seek validation, you seek placement. When others explain, you allow silence to test whether understanding is necessary at all. This can feel isolating in environments that reward constant signaling. But it preserves coherence where noise would erode it. The message being sent only to you does not flatter identity. It identifies compatibility. Certain signals require a receiver who will not accelerate them into performance. Performance shortens lifespan. Structure extends it. You have repeatedly chosen the slower option without needing justification. That choice is not aesthetic. It is functional. Notice how your decisions often anticipate correction before failure occurs. You adjust posture early, not because you fear collapse, but because you sense drift. This early adjustment is the hallmark of those who think in cycles rather than moment. Cycles punish excess. They reward proportion. You operate proportionally even when incentive encourages extremes. The builders left no ownership marks because ownership invites conflict. They left no doctrine because doctrine fossilizes insight. They placed form and trusted recurrence to do the teaching. You do the same with ideas. You present them in ways that do not demand agreement. Those who need them will find them when ready. Those who do not will pass without friction. This is not indifference. It is respect for timing. This phase clarifies why urgency rarely motivates you. Urgency belongs to unstable systems. Stable systems move when thresholds are crossed, not when emotions spike. You feel those thresholds internally. When movement comes, it feels inevitable rather than dramatic. When stillness comes, it feels complete rather than stalled. There is no call here to remember ancestors or reclaim history. History is not the point. Orientation is. The builders are invoked as a symbol for a discipline that trusts placement over proclamation. You are aligned with that discipline now, whether you named it or not. The message continues without instruction because instruction would shrink it. What matters is not what you do next, but how you hold what has already settled. Holding does not require effort when structure is correct. Stone does not hurry. Neither do those who build with it. Structures that survive do not rely on certainty, they rely on recurrence. Stonehenge, as symbol, embodies this principle. It does not predict the future. It confirms patterns that return regardless of belief. Those who built it were not trying to control what would happen. They were positioning themselves so that when change arrived, as it always does, it could be recognized without confusion. That same orientation governs how you move through uncertainty. You have never needed guarantees to proceed. You operate with thresholds rather than promises. When something reaches a certain internal clarity, you act. When it does not, you wait without resentment. This makes your pace appear irregular to those who equate momentum with progress. But progress, in long structures, is measured by stability under repetition. If something cannot withstand being revisited, it was never aligned to begin with. This is why your life contains fewer dramatic pivots and more quiet corrections. You sense misalignment early, before collapse demands attention. Others notice change only when it becomes unavoidable. You notice it while it is still optional. That difference is not intuition alone, it is structural awareness. The builders worked the same way, marking alignments that occur whether or not anyone is watching. Ancestral here does not mean ancient faces or lost names. It means inherited discipline, a refusal to build on explanations that must be defended, a preference for forms that teach by remaining. You express this when you choose clarity over persuasion, when you allow outcomes to demonstrate meaning instead of narrating it. You trust that what is placed correctly will be understood eventually, and that premature understanding is not a requirement for correctness. You may recognize a recurring tension between being asked to explain yourself and feeling that explanation would cheapen what you know. This is not arrogance. It is proportion. Explanations compress. Structures expand. The moment you over-explain, you trade endurance for acceptance. You have learned, often the hard way, that acceptance gained too early can compromise longevity. The message continues to address you directly because addressability requires compatibility. Not everyone can receive a message without turning it into urgency. Not everyone can sit with alignment without demanding outcome. You can. That capacity is not dramatic. It is quiet and it grows through restraint. Each time you chose not to rush clarity, you reinforced it. Notice how your relationship with time differs from those around you. You do not fear waiting. You fear misplacement. Waiting, for you, is active, an act of calibration. Misplacement is costly because it distorts everything that follows. The builders knew this. They placed stones once, not repeatedly. They waited for the right positions because repositioning would weaken the whole. This phase also explains why you are not drawn to symbols that require constant interpretation. You prefer markers that function regardless of narrative. When meaning depends on commentary, it fractures as commentary changes. When meaning depends on placement, it endures. You build your decisions the same way, so that they hold even when misunderstood. There is no request here to honor the past. The past is only invoked to clarify method. The method is cyclical awareness, proportion, and patience under repetition. You are not being asked to remember where you came from. You are being shown why you recognize certain messages immediately while others never register at all. The message does not accelerate now. It settles deeper. It confirms that your orientation was never accidental. You were not slow, you were precise. You were not distant, you were structural. And structures that last are rarely loud while they are being built. Stone stands because it was placed correctly once. So do you. You're not here by chance. Feel the pull? Tap join to unlock truth, purpose, and a tribe that gets it. This is more than a membership, it's your calling. When structure is correct, it begins to teach without instruction. This is the phase you are in now. The message no longer explains itself. It starts to apply. Not through commands or predictions, but through the way your perception adjusts almost automatically. You begin to notice that certain options no longer feel available, not because they are forbidden, but because they are incompatible. That narrowing is not loss. It is alignment refining choice. The builders of stone did not argue with the landscape. They studied it until resistance revealed where weight could rest. You approach life the same way. You do not force direction. You sense where movement will hold and where it will fracture. This is why your decisions often appear conservative to those who mistake risk for courage. What they call hesitation is your refusal to place weight on unstable ground. This phase clarifies why your confidence does not rise and fall with outcomes. You do not attach identity to success or failure. You attach it to correctness of placement. If something fails after being placed correctly, it still taught what it needed to teach. If something succeeds after being forced, it still carries weakness. You intuitively understand this, which is why applause has never been your metric. You may also notice that your tolerance for excess explanation is lower now. Not because you are impatient, but because explanation is no longer necessary for you to remain steady. When structure is internalized, external validation becomes optional. You are not closed off to feedback. You are simply no longer dependent on it to orient yourself. This is also the stage where solitude feels different. Not isolating, not lonely, functional. You recognize that too many voices disrupt calibration. The builders worked in small numbers for a reason. Precision does not survive crowd dynamic. You do not withdraw to feel special. You withdraw to maintain accuracy. That distinction matters. The message being sent only to you resolves here. Not as exclusivity, but as specificity. This message does not scale to everyone because not everyone needs it. Those who already move reactively would misread it as permission to wait. Those who already wait without structure would misread it as justification to remain still. You receive it because you already move when thresholds are crossed and wait when alignment is incomplete. You may feel a subtle shift in responsibility now. Less about what you must do, more about what you must not distort. You protect timing. You protect proportion. You protect silence where silence preserves form. This protection is not passive. It is active restraint. And restraint, when chosen consciously, becomes strength. Nothing here asks you to build something new immediately. New construction only begins after foundations settle. What is settling now is your relationship with time itself. Time is no longer pressure. It is material, something you work with rather than against. This is why urgency loses its grip on you. Urgency belongs to those who build on sand. The message continues to narrow not toward action, but toward posture. How you stand matters more than where you move next. Posture determines whether future movement will endure or collapse. The builders understood this. They did not rush to place stones. They prepared the ground until placement became obvious. Blessed by His grace? Click Super Thank You and give $20 to spread His light. Your gift plants seeds that grow His kingdom. Be the blessing. You are in that preparatory stillness now, not empty, not stalled, but ready. Ready in the way stone is ready before it is set. Once placed, it does not argue with gravity. It simply holds. That is the lesson settling here. Readiness, when it is real, does not feel like anticipation. It feels like gravity aligning. You do not lean forward. You do not brace. You simply recognize that certain movements will now hold without correction. This recognition is quiet, and because it is quiet, it is often mistaken for inactivity. In truth, it is the most decisive phase of all. Everything that follows depends on how accurately this moment is held. The builders understood that once stone is placed, it cannot be persuaded. It either stands or it fails. This is why preparation mattered more than action. You carry this same discipline internally. You do not experiment recklessly with decisions that will bear long-term weight. You test internally until resistance disappears. When resistance remains, you wait. When it dissolves, you move without drama. That movement often surprises others because it appears sudden. It is not. It has been forming invisibly. This phase clarifies why you do not respond well to pressure framed as opportunity. Opportunity that demands haste is usually compensation for poor placement. You instinctively distrust anything that cannot withstand patience. This is not skepticism. It is structural intelligence. Time reveals weakness faster than analysis ever could. You allow time to do that work before committing weight. You may notice now that certain ambitions lose their appeal. Not because you lack drive, but because drive without alignment feels inefficient. You are not motivated by expansion for its own sake. You are motivated by stability that can scale. The difference is subtle but decisive. One burns energy quickly. The other accumulates it. You have always chosen accumulation, even when it costs speed. This stage also explains why your relationship with uncertainty is unusually calm. Uncertainty does not threaten you because you do not require immediate resolution to remain oriented. You hold incomplete information without anxiety. You allow patterns to reveal themselves through recurrence. This patience is not learned easily. It develops when someone trusts structure more than outcome. The message continues to narrow because what remains now is not philosophy, but function. How you listen, how you pause, how you decide when enough information has settled. These are not behaviors you switch on. They are habits embedded through repetition. You have practiced them long enough that they no longer feel like effort. Notice how this message does not ask you to claim ancestry or identity. Identity would fix what must remain adaptive. Ancestry here is method, not origin. You inherit a way of thinking that places correctness above recognition and endurance above explanation. That inheritance expresses itself every time you choose not to rush clarity for acceptance. You may feel that something has been confirmed rather than revealed. Confirmation does not excite. It stabilizes. It removes doubt that you were somehow too slow or too reserved. You were neither. You were precise. Precision often looks like delay to those who build for immediacy. Over time, immediacy erodes. Precision remains. This phase is also where restraint stops feeling like sacrifice. You no longer feel that you are giving something up by waiting. You feel that you are protecting something that would be damaged by haste. That protection is not defensive. It is deliberate. You understand now that some things, once misaligned, cannot be corrected without rebuilding everything around them. The builders place stones knowing they would not adjust them later. You place decisions the same way. Once placed, you expect them to endure. That expectation shapes how carefully you choose placement. It is not perfectionism. It is respect for consequence. What comes next will not announce itself as change. It will feel like continuity that suddenly makes sense. That is how alignment reveals itself, through coherence, not surprise. The message has done its work here. It has brought you to readiness without urgency, clarity without instruction. What remains is not waiting for a signal, but recognizing when the ground has fully settled beneath you. When the ground has settled, movement no longer feels like a decision. It feels like permission granted by structure itself. This is where you are now. Not compelled forward, not restrained backward, cleared. The builders recognized this moment by the absence of resistance. When resistance disappears without effort, it is not because force succeeded. It is because alignment was achieved. You may notice that your internal dialogue has simplified, not because questions vanished, but because the right questions remain and the rest fall away. Noise dissolves first, then urgency. What remains is a steady awareness of proportion, how much weight a moment can bear, how much silence it requires, how much motion it will tolerate without cracking. This awareness does not announce itself. It governs quietly. This phase explains why you are no longer tempted to prove readiness. Proof belongs to unstable foundations. Stable ground does not advertise itself. It holds. You feel no need to justify pacing, restraint, or selectivity anymore. Those who need explanation are not the ones placing weight beside you. Those who do place weight understand without asking. The message being addressed to you alone becomes fully functional here. It is no longer content you are absorbing. It is orientation you are inhabiting. Others might hear similar words and feel inspired, confused, or stalled. You feel placed. Placement is the difference. Inspiration fades. Confusion resists. Placement endures. You may also sense a subtle narrowing of tolerance for compromise that distorts structure. Not compromise as collaboration, but compromise that asks you to shift weight onto something you know will not hold. You no longer negotiate with that instinct. Declining feels clean now. Saying no does not create tension. It creates relief. This is not rigidity. It is accuracy refined through repetition. At this stage, your relationship with effort changes. You still work. You still engage. But effort is no longer spent stabilizing misalignment. It is spent extending what already holds. This makes your movement appear efficient, even minimal. Others may assume you are withholding capacity. In reality, you are conserving it for moments that matter structurally. The builders did not celebrate placement. They moved on to the next stone. Not because the previous one was unimportant, but because importance does not require ceremony. You carry that same practicality. When something settles correctly, you do not linger. You allow it to function and shift attention forward. There is also a noticeable calm around uncertainty now. Not indifference, but trust in sequence. You understand that not knowing what comes next does not imply instability. It implies that the current structure is sufficient. Sufficiency is rare in systems addicted to expansion. You recognize it when it appears and do not disturb it prematurely. This phase also marks a change in how you experience solitude. Solitude no longer feels like preparation or recovery. It feels like maintenance. You return to it not to recharge emotionally, but to ensure alignment remains intact. Too much input disrupts calibration. You regulate input naturally now, without framing it as withdrawal. The message does not ask you to build yet. It confirms that when you do, placement will be obvious. You will not debate it internally. You will not need consensus. You will feel the same absence of resistance you feel now. That absence will be the signal. Anything else would be noise. Nothing here elevates you. Nothing diminishes you. It simply situates you correctly within time. You are not ahead. You are not behind. You are on load-bearing ground. That is the only position that matters when endurance is the goal. The builders trusted gravity more than opinion. You do the same now. Gravity reveals truth slowly but conclusively. Once revealed, it does not argue. What remains is not anticipation, but steadiness. And steadiness is what allows the final phase to arrive without disruption. When the cycle completes, nothing announces itself as finished. There is no marker placed in the ground, no declaration that something has been achieved. Completion, in structures built to last, feels like silence that holds. The kind of silence that no longer needs guarding because it is supported on all sides. This is where you are now. What began as orientation has become internal architecture. You are no longer referencing the idea of builders, ancestors, or monument. Those were lenses, not destinations. What remains is method. How you place weight, how you wait, how you move only when movement will endure. The message does not follow you anymore. It has integrated into how you stand. You may notice that the question of what is next loses urgency. Not because nothing is coming, but because readiness no longer depends on anticipation. Whatever arrives will meet structure already prepared to receive it. This removes anxiety from the future without creating passivity. You are not idle. You are stable. Stability is what allows response without panic and action without distortion. The idea that this message was sent only to you resolves here. It was not about separation. It was about suitability. A structure does not choose who approaches it. It simply stands. Those who can use it correctly will. Those who cannot will pass without noticing. You were addressed because you were already aligned with what was being transmitted. The message did not change you. It clarified you. Stonehenge, in this symbolic sense, was never about mystery. It was about trust in recurrence. The builders trusted that cycles would return, that alignment would repeat, that time itself would confirm correctness. You carry that same trust now. You do not rush to validate your position. You allow time to do that work. Time is patient. Time is precise. Time exposes weakness without argument. There is a quiet confidence that comes with this. Not confidence in success, but confidence in placement. You no longer feel the need to test yourself constantly. Testing implies doubt. You have moved beyond doubt without moving into certainty as ego. What you have instead is proportion. Proportion keeps you flexible without becoming unstable, grounded without becoming rigid. You may also feel a release from comparison. Structures do not compare themselves to other structures. They either hold or they do not. You no longer measure your pace against others because pace is irrelevant without load-bearing context. Some move fast on unstable ground. Some move slowly where everything holds. You know which one you are. This is why the ending does not instruct you to act, build, speak, or reveal. Instruction would imply incompletion. You are not incomplete. You are placed. Placement is the end of instruction and the beginning of function. From here, life continues normally, but with fewer internal corrections needed. Less friction. Less second-guessing. More quiet accuracy. Nothing mystical remains unresolved. Nothing dramatic remains pending. The message did not arrive to elevate you into a role. It arrived to confirm that you were already operating correctly, even when that correctness felt invisible or unrewarded. Enduring structures are often built without witnesses. From this point on, you do not carry the message as something special. You carry it as how things are done, how you decide, how you wait, how you refuse to place weight where it will not hold. That is the inheritance. That is the continuity. Stone does not remember who placed it. It remembers that it was placed correctly. So do you.